Hello, my name is Andrew Feinstein. I'm the Executive Director of Corruption Watch UK. I am also an advisory board member of PPLAAF. I'm sorry that I'm unable to be there in person for the launch of this extremely important organization, but I just wanted to share a few things with you about my own experience in relation to whistleblowing and how important it is in the world today. I'm originally from South Africa, and I served as an ANC Member of Parliament when South Africa first became a democracy in 1994. My responsibility in South Africa was to draft the public financial management legislation to create a framework for the honest and effective use of public money. After this drafting was done, I became the senior ANC member on a committee called the Public Accounts Committee, the main financial oversight committee in the South African Parliament. And this committee did its work without fear or favour for the first few years of our democracy under President Nelson Mandela. However, in the year 2000, under Mandela's successor, Thabo Mbeki, my committee received a report about an arms deal that South Africa had entered into in 1999, a deal in which the country, which had no enemies at the time, decided to purchase $10 billion worth of weaponry, weapons that we didn't need and that the country has barely used to this day. Myself and my colleagues who've written extensively about this deal estimate that about $300 million of bribes were paid to senior politicians, to senior officials, both in government and in the military, and to a variety of intermediaries or middlemen. Some of that money, it is alleged, went to the ANC itself, my own political party, and we used that money to fight our second democratic election in 1999. When we received this report from the country's Auditor General, my committee commenced to do its work as we normally did. Regardless of who was involved, we started to investigate the matter and the allegations of corruption that were contained in it. Very quickly, we discovered that the corruption that had taken place was even larger than the Auditor General had thought, and that there were certain very influential and powerful people involved in the corruption. What happened when we decided to go public with this information is that, first of all, my own party, the ANC, tried to stop the investigation. First, they called me and some of my colleagues in and told us that it simply wasn't in the public interest for us to investigate this matter publicly. I explained to them why it was essential that a committee of Parliament conduct its investigation into this matter like it had into various other matters of corruption. Then, when we tried to hold a public hearing on the matter, my own chief whip, who we later discovered had received a luxury 4x4 vehicle from one of the bidders in the arms deal, tried to stop the public hearing just a few minutes before it was due to start. Eventually, when these various methods of trying to close down the investigation failed, I was called in by very senior party officials, and I was warned that this investigation had to stop. Because I believed that when being elected a member of Parliament and being sworn into Parliament, I swore an oath of allegiance to the country's constitution and not to any political party, I felt a strong responsibility to continue with the investigation. The ANC in Parliament tried to undermine me. They first removed me as leader of the committee, then they removed me from the committee altogether. However, as a member of Parliament, I would still attend the meetings of the committee and would then face disciplinary action from the party whips after each and every meeting. Eventually, I was called to the highest echelons of the party and the government, and I was given a stark choice. I could attempt to continue the investigation and the ANC would remove me from Parliament, something they can do in terms of South Africa's constitution quite easily. Or I could forget about the investigation and close it down and have a bright political future, as it was put to me. I was confused. This is a political party that had liberated South Africa from apartheid, that I had been involved with since my late teens, and was family to me as much as a political party. So on an occasion, the Speaker of Parliament and ANC members of my own committee called me into a room in Parliament and said, "We've called a media conference in your name, and here is the statement that you will read." And the statement said that in fact we'd got everything wrong on this deal, that there was no corruption in the deal, and I apologized for getting everything wrong. I was really torn. I decided to actually appear at the press conference, and I read out the statement that had been prepared by the ANC effectively. After I read out the statement, I walked out of the press conference and got into my car to drive to a workshop that the committee was supposed to be having. As I was driving, I heard myself on the car radio reading out the statement, and I realized that I couldn't cover up what was the largest corruption scandal in South Africa's democratic history. So I called another media conference and I announced that I'd made a mistake, that I believed unequivocally that there was massive corruption in this deal, and that I was going to continue with the investigation, even though it would cost me my political career. And that's exactly what happened. The night before the ANC were going to remove me from Parliament, I resigned. But I continued to investigate this arms deal. And a few years later, I published a book revealing the extent of the corruption, who had been paid, who the intermediaries were, so how they'd been paid, and what a monumental waste of money this had been for South Africa. As you can imagine, going this route did not make me popular within my own political party, but I felt it was extremely important as a matter of principle to say that we should not condone corruption and to try and establish a precedent whereby people in the ANC and in government generally would see that people were prepared to stand up for what was right, and that if you did engage in corruption, you would have to face some consequences. I'm often asked the question of whether it was worth giving up my political career for these principles, and I can unequivocally say that it was. I've written a number of books on the global arms trade, one of which has been made into a feature film, and I believe that I can play more of a role outside of the strictures of a political party by investigating, exposing, and making the world aware of the dreadful corruption that undermines democracy, governance, the rule of law, and even our very own security that it's supposed to bolster. My own experience leads me to believe that the role of whistleblowers in our societies is perhaps more crucial than ever before. As politics becomes something of a post-truth activity, it is whistleblowers who need to have the courage, when they have information, to reveal that information, but to do so securely and in a way that is protected. Perhaps what I'm most proud of in what I have done is that the many, many sources that I used to reveal the details of the South African arms deal and many arms deals since have never, ever been exposed or revealed. But for whistleblowers to be effective, for whistleblowers to play their crucial role in holding our political leaders to account, it is essential that they have expert advice and support, and that they have secure and free legal services. Without these things, it is very, very difficult to blow the whistle on corruption, on crime, and on misgovernment. So I do hope that PPLAAF is able to play a crucial role on the continent of Africa of providing this support and security to whistleblowers, so that people around the continent feel able to come forward knowing that they will be protected, that they will be protected personally and legally, and that by doing so, by having the courage of their convictions, they can help to make their own country and our continent of Africa a more transparent, a more accountable, and a fairer and a more just place. So I wish all of you at this launch huge success, and I greatly look forward to being a part of this organization. Thank you and good luck.